One round load. Ready on the right, ready on the left. Ready on the firing line. Watch for your targets.
Yeah. Pay attention. Welcome to the fish fry where niggas get burnt to a crisp. Jump out the pot, yeah, yo, I got this. Long armor, constructions on them, pro drama. Catch me in the wildest beats, I bring bombers. Bearded like Taliban's booted, my black ninjas that come through. Tuxedos on with the gold llamas, prices like emeralds. Check out the ski mask, King Tut never gave it to me for 3 bags.
Gold Squad TV. All right, so I was just bumping Wu-Tang. Take it back to this, or take it back as it's titled on the 8 Diagrams album. The reason why I'm making this video, man, because this is a really slept on album to me. A lot of people who are hardcore Wu fans really didn't like any of the albums after Wu Forever. I swear, I'm gonna keep this a beam with you. 8 Diagrams was probably their best album after Forever. When you go track to track, and this is the set off, this is the first song on the album. Easy Mo B, who is one of a legend in this game, co-produced this joint with the Resurrector. I used to bump this album hard body in my Red Civic. I remember I bought it from Best Buy. And the lady that was cashing me out at the time, this is like 07. And she's like, yo, Wu-Tang still makes albums and stuff like that. At that time, popularity-wise, Wu wasn't really at the forefront. There's a lot of hip-hop heads, knew Wu, obviously knew Wu, but I'm saying wasn't at the forefront of the industry anymore. And that said, this album is extremely underrated. When you get out of your fanboy shit sometimes, for some of these Wu fans, as much as I love them, sometimes they try to hold certain expectations for every Wu or Wu artist albums. But when you get out your feelings for a minute and really listen to the production as it really is, they didn't really ruin anything. There were some songs that weren't necessarily the greatest, but it was like 3 songs out of like 17, 18 that were dope. Like some of y'all gotta really understand maturity. RZA matured as a producer. That doesn't mean he was making anything wax. He wasn't. But he also, at that point in time, dealing with Afro Samurai and doing a lot of these other things he was working on his side, not to mention movies. Music wasn't really on RZA's forefront the way it was maybe when Forever came out and when 36 Chambers came out, plus all the solo albums that came out in the crew. That said, though, looking back at this album's not as bad as everybody made it out to be. At least some of the hardcore Wu fans. I'm a hard-body Wu fan, but I'm also not one of those people that's going to act like every artist should sound like they did back at a certain point. There's certain growth, and sometimes you might not like the growth a certain artist goes through. And me being a former rapper, when I was younger, I was just like a lot of these hardcore Wu fans. And I would get pissed off whenever an album didn't really, live up to its expectations. And then when I think about it, when I re-listen to it now with different ears, it's much, much, much different for me. I love this album. And I come from an era where I was right after the hardcore albums that came out that usually had about 16 songs that were all dope, like the non-rewindable joints. Like, this is the era where it started kind of falling off a little bit, where you had at least 3 or 4 joints, and then you had some dope joints. The song Wolves with George Clinton, that's fire. I don't care what anybody says. That's fire. Also, this is the one album Wu came out with where U-God actually showed up. And that's rare. But U-God really showed up. And I know if you probably listen, you're going to say, fuck me. But it's cool. I'm just being honest as a fan. It's the one album where I felt like U-God really showed out. Everybody else showed out in the album, but U-God really showed out in this album. And it's not like he was when he was doing Bridges and, on 36 Chambers, where he was halfway locked up in the album, or when he was doing other joints. But I do think that this album needs to be given more of a listen and more of a chance, especially with more mature eyes. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. y'all put your fandom and your hardcore fandom aside and really understand and put your ear to production and really see how dope the production is, because some of them beats weren't bad. Like I said, Take It Back and Wolves were and any other albums those beats would be fire. Go Squad TV, subscribe, salute, show love, spread the word.
Straight up. The nozzle aim rip through your brain for pocket change. Fiend for the rush, out of Ford and pop a vein. $1,000 corpse pop, force to get off top. Used to be a general, just lost your spot. Animal House, $2 grand to handle your mouth. Beast mode with the cheat code, cancel them out. Son, I seen hell, fell into the palms of Satan.